Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Shockley, and I'm the interim CEO of the Greater Philadelphia Association of Realtors. I'd like to welcome you to our coffee talk this morning. This is our third session with the Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware chapter of CCIM. Before we get started, we wanted to make a few announcements on some upcoming events. Oops, sorry. On September 9th and October 14th, we have virtual fair housing continuing education sessions that will fulfill the mandatory requirement from the PA Real Estate Commission for this CE cycle. On September 25th, we are participating in a Making Diversity Work in Your Real Estate Business. This is an event in partnership with the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors, Tri-County Suburban Realtors, Bucks County Suburban Realtors, and 4 local chapters of national multicultural real estate organizations. Finally, save the date of November 20th for the annual membership meeting at Live Casino and Hotel in Philadelphia. Additional information and registration is available on the website, gpar.org. To kick things off this morning, please welcome Annette Collier, President of the Greater Philadelphia Association of Realtors. Annette.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Jennifer. For those of you who never met Jennifer, she's doing a fabulous job as we are searching for the next CEO. So I want to let you know that we still are in action, busy. I want to thank the staff for being with us this morning, not only here, but also in the background and making sure that our organization remains sound. As you may recall, since the beginning, maybe close to the beginning of the year or a couple of months ago, we have been engaging quite a bit with CCIM. We believe that there is an opportunity there in the commercial space, not only in the Philadelphia area, but all over the country because of some of the vacancies that are occurring with commercial real estate. So I want to thank Candace Presley. She is on the board of CCIM, and also Dominique Janitas. Those of us who go to the PAR business meetings, he is very active. And I'm just really happy that he has had the opportunity and the time to be with us today to talk about the opportunities in commercial real estate. And so, as Jennifer mentioned, there is going to be a networking event, and we hope that you all will come out. You never know, perhaps in the future, we might be able to have a committee, but of course, we need to have the people of interest. So without further ado, I want to pass the mic over to Candace Presley. Thank you again, Candace, for bringing this awareness about commercial opportunity. And Dominique, thank you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. So as Annette mentions, I'm Candace Presley. I'm the owner of Trinity Property Advisors, and I currently serve as treasurer for the PA New Jersey Delaware CCIM chapter. And this is our third coffee talk where we talked about CCIM, the importance of it, and we did a day in the life of the CCIM, kind of walk through some of our software. So today we're going to talk about just, kind of bridging the gap or balancing residential and commercial. And I have our past president, Dominic, with us. And our president is on too. I see SJ on here. You got to say hi to the crowd.
Hi all. Thank you.
So, this is a conversation. This isn't a CE class. We're going to talk. And I just like to get a little poll, like who in the room currently is doing some commercial deals or kind of dabbing in both. You want to put in the chat what you've done or just where you are with it. That would be awesome. And Dominic, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi there. Dominic Janitas here. I am with the Realtors Association of Metropolitan Pittsburgh. I'm practicing associate broker out here in the Pittsburgh area. Also licensed in West Virginia as an associate broker as well. Super excited to be here. Candace, thank you. Annette, thank you. Jennifer and I go way back from whenever I was president of the association and getting started at CCIM. So really, really honored to be here and really just want to have a conversation about how you blend residential and commercial and how you transition if you're interested in doing so. So I don't know if that was enough of an intro, but I can go.
Yeah,
Trust me, I like the sound of my own voice. Jennifer knows I can talk for hours. So you tell me when to stop.
so Dominic, why don't you start with how you got started, like how you got here?
Yeah, great. Great question. So, I actually did not want to be in real estate at all. I fought it tooth and nail. My dad was a builder and still is a builder and developer. So I got my license when I was 19. I was in college and didn't really do much with it. Was part-time and just helping him like sit sales trailers and stuff. And it wasn't until about 11 years ago when my dad was working on a development and needed some extra help that I said, okay, I'll reactivate my license. It was an escrow, and I said, oh, this will be temporary, and I'll go I'll go back to my normal 9 to 5, if you could call it 9 to 5 then. And that was 11 years ago, and I have not been out of the business since. I have fallen in love with it, but it was really really something that I didn't expect to fall into, and it was just kind of it snowballed from there. But I started in, as most real estate practitioners do, I started in residential. And my dad was doing a multifamily project, and I was like, "Oh, I'm kind of interested in how this all works because they don't really teach you commercial when you're getting your license, right? They might touch on it and, you might
Mhm.
have a CE course or two on it, but realistically, it is very, very residentially focused. So I didn't know where to turn, didn't know, how to learn. And, as a brand new agent, even though I had had my license since '06, when I started back full time 11 years ago, didn't really know too many people. Didn't, if I had a commercial transaction or if I had a question, I'd call a commercial broker and I wouldn't get a phone call back. Which is unfortunately pretty typical in our area. But it was like, I got to learn this if I'm going to do this. And not to make this a commercial for CCIM, but it is a commercial for CCIM because
It is.
honestly, I turned, I was doing some research and one of my dad's brokers had mentioned, why don't you look into CCIM? And honestly, that is how I learned the commercial business. I was in residential for about a year and then started almost right into the commercial classes, CI 101, and then just kind of ran with it. And the more I learned, the more I was getting confident to take on smaller, more neighborhood commercial projects, and that's kind of what I do to this day. No one's coming to me for a skyscraper, but and I wouldn't want that, right? That's not who I am. I like the smaller neighborhood commercial deals, 50 units or less, smaller, mom and pop retail office. So during that time, I was still doing residential. They turn a lot faster. I still had to eat, right? And then, the commercial deals kind of just everyone kind of knew that I was doing commercial in my office. I worked out of a residential firm, and slowly but surely, more and more residential agents were like, "Ah, I don't want to deal with this. Can you handle this commercial transaction or what?" And that's kind of how I picked up more knowledge. It was definitely baptism by fire, drinking out of a fire hose on some of these transactions, but yeah, now it's 11 years in and I'm loving it. And I still do residential. I still have a little residential business that I focus on friends, family, relocation, referrals. I never turn down a referral for residential, no matter how small it is, even if it's small, vacant land, could be $25,000. I will take it. That's how I have operated my business with regards to advertising. I really don't focus on an advertising budget. Anyone who follows me knows that I'm a little bit of a ham. So if there's a camera, I'm there for a free advertising opportunity. So that's kind of what I've done, and just wanted to be as much a part of the industry instead of in the industry as possible.
So Dominic, we have a lot in common. I got my license when I was 19 too, when I was doing my undergrad at Temple. And so we got that in common. Um, and I would say I started out the same way in residential. And I always wanted to do commercial. I just wasn't sure how to navigate to get there. And then when I would say a turning point for me was when I became a mom, and I said, man, I gotta be the best version of me I can. And I said, I'm gonna go back to school. So with CCIM's university track program, there is an alliance with several universities where some of our courses go towards the designation. So I said, okay, you know what? This is kill two birds with one stone, get a master's degree, and when I'm done, it took me about 2-3 years, and I got my CCIM shortly thereafter that. And it was just on my radar. I wanted it, and being a part of the association and going to the conferences and being involved has really helped evolve my career. And I heard you mention about, you still do residential. So I am too. I have a team that I kind of let deal with a lot of it, but I still do some of it, family, friends, and things like that. But I did want to touch on one thing you mentioned, like I started out when I finished grad school, I did a lot of leasing. I worked for a developer that had a retail shopping center. So, how do you manage that? The quick turnaround of the residential versus sometimes, with the commercial, it can take longer. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest lesson that I think I've learned through this is what has gotten me to this point was I read sounds so silly, but I read Shonda Rhimes' book, The Year of Yes, and I said yes to every opportunity that came my way. And no joke, it ended me as president of the Realtors Association of Metropolitan Pittsburgh, president of CCIM's, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware chapter. And then I found myself having said yes to too much, where I got really, really involved and I wanted that. But the biggest lesson that I learned was how to say no and how to choose opportunities that were right for me. Um, Once I learned how to navigate that, and it's easier said than done when you're 11 years in the business, right? And you're starting out and you're trying to, make a name or whatever, you're saying yes to everything. But juggling it all was a challenge, and it's finding the right opportunities for you, and that's now how I challenge it. I had a team, I no longer have a team. Um, one of the girls on my team, she moved back to Chicago. She's a broker there now because her husband was promoted. I put a lot of weight on the team idea and didn't really think about how would I function if I no longer had a team. So I said, okay, I'm going to figure out the best way to make sure that I'm saying yes to opportunities that make sense, whether it's a small deal or a large transaction. And that's how I look at every opportunity that comes through. I would love to take every listing opportunity. I'd love to take every buyer, but there's only one of me. And so the finding the balance between commercial and residential for me was realizing, okay, I'm gonna lean in. I'm unmarried. The only kids I have are two cats, right? So I do have the luxury of a little bit more flexibility, in figuring out how to divide my time. For me, I'm working 7 days a week, but I'm finding time within that time to take time for myself. And you find your commercial clients usually are during the day, and your residential clients are nights and weekends. So when you find a balance that works for you, you will get into a rhythm, and that's what I have found. So it is, it's much easier said than done now that I'm kind of in it full time. But it is, if you want to do both, you have to be prepared to do both well. And you can't give 50% to your resi clients and 75% or the other 50, or 100% to your commercial, whatever the math is. But you have to give them each the amount of time that they deserve, which is 100%. And how do you do that? You take on the opportunities that work for you, but that you're not going to be overpromising and underperforming. And I felt that when I had said yes to everything, I was overpromising and underperforming in a lot of areas in my life. So I just decided to take a step back and say, look, when I can put 100% into these, let's say 5 clients, um, I've noticed that those 5 clients refer me to other clients because they were like, wow, he really did a great job for me. And I get it back in a referral. So yeah, I think it's really important. And then keeping a really tight calendar. I know that sounds silly, but that organizes my entire life. So
I can agree, and feel free guys to chime in. I know for me being a mom, one of the things that I liked about residential so much more is that it's, Monday through Friday, because I'm a soccer mom. My son got soccer games. I want to be in the stands cheering him on, and it's, allowed me more free time, on the weekends and things like that. So I really liked the commercial side more than the residential, specifically for that reason. And one other thing too, I liked how you said the book, The Year of Yes. That was a good one. I did read that one too. As my career has evolved, I've realized also where I enjoy and what I enjoy more. Like I actually wrote down, kind of a whole chart of all the things because I can relate, being involved with a lot of things. And I've gotten introduced to development myself and doing some of my own transaction, and I'm really liking that more. It's higher on my list now, the development piece, than the brokerage. I would say I'm spending about 65, almost 70% of my time more doing, focusing on my development deals than I was doing brokerage. But I still have my clients, and I'm training up some agents to help me out and do some of those deals with me so I can kind of focus on what I love. But definitely am loving being involved when, the development and things like that. I know we have a project with the land bank where we're getting land from the land bank doing affordable housing. I grew up in West Philly, so I'm doing my lots and my projects in the West Philly area. And, kind of being exposed to the other, like Urban Land Institute, is another organization to be involved with is very helpful, in that respect as well. All right, I see we got one question in the chat.
I love this question.
Okay, go ahead.
Not that this is an advertisement for CCIM, but it's a great question. So the question is how a commercial only agent does business nationwide. What kind of license is needed to do commercial anywhere in the state? I would say your best bet is really coming up. The CCIM is such a great networking opportunity. I have done deals with other CCIMs across the country. I can't remember when I got pinned. I think it was 2018, maybe. Jennifer, she probably doesn't know, but 2018, I think, Jennifer, maybe. The going through the CCIM program and the education and the institute has connected me with so many people. I don't want a license in every state. I can assure you, getting a license in West Virginia was like crazy enough. Um, but I will say that is, from my experience, the best way to do deals across the country is partnering with other CCIMs and working with them. Obviously, you're not the one that's transacting, but they might be your client that is looking to open something somewhere else. Really a great way. Just get into those classes and start networking. I think it's the same way across the state. I have sent referrals across to Philly. Harrisburg, and kind of the best way that I feel that you can do that is also getting involved at your local association. And that was one of the things that I did. I started as a director of the board and then worked my way up through treasurer and then all the way up to president. And then you travel and you meet people and you meet, staff members from other associations, you meet other, presidents from other associations, and you start to make those connections. So you don't have to necessarily, work harder. You can just work smarter. And that can be done by networking. And one of the biggest things that I can say has helped me outside of getting involved at CCIM was getting involved at my local association and really getting involved, not just like, oh, I'm going to attend a meeting or whatever, like rooting myself into the association. And you don't have to be president to do that, but picking something that maybe you're passionate about. Like for me, it's commercial, maybe government affairs is your thing. But finding a way to get involved, and you will meet people from across the state and then eventually across the country. And that is the best way. And that doesn't really cost you all that much money, right? Like you might travel to Harrisburg or something, you might travel somewhere, cost you a couple bucks, but I think it's well worth it. And it has paid me back tenfold. So
Mhm.
I would say absolutely get involved and start taking some CCIM classes. We have a lot of great intro classes, kind of like dipping your toe in to see what makes sense. And that is I think the best way to start doing deals across the country and across the state.
Dominique, you kind of touched on something that is very relevant to us right now at the Greater Philadelphia Association of Realtors, and that is leadership. When you get into leadership, like Candace is on the board for CCIM, Dominique is a past president, oftentimes you are able to be at tables that you would not normally be invited to. And so that's one of the powers of being a leader. And once a leader, you're always a leader. They're going to call you past, like they're calling Dominique past president. But it says a lot. And I will tell you, and I know Candace will agree, another organization we belong to, National Association of Real Estate Brokers. I mean, we've actually been at the White House, but you don't get into those rooms unless you are a leader. So I'm hoping that whoever is listening and is wondering, well, how do you get involved? And you may have some desires in helping to grow. So first of all, we all have to be a servant before we actually become a president. So I just wanted to put that out there. So thank you very much for that, Dominique and Candace.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So again, guys, put your questions in the chat. But one thing I wanted to touch on is skills. What skills you think are transferable from either side, the residential and the commercial side? And what are some of the new ones? I mean, I'm definitely going to talk about CCIM with this, but you want to touch on that, Dom?
Sure. Yeah, I think in at the end of the day, the most transferable skill is being everyone's therapist. No, is being able to communicate, I think, effectively to I hate to say it like code switching, but being able to talk to different people, different personalities, being able to manage that because even though on the commercial side, let's say it's more numbers based, you're still dealing with people at the end of the day. And I think communication skills are something that I think are so crucial. You also have to be able to adapt. During the pandemic, we heard a lot of this word pivot, which I hate because it's triggering, but you have to be able to kind of pivot through your day and adapt because it can pull you in 19 different directions. But I do think that your adaptability, communication skills, and I will say diligence is you need it for residential and you need it for commercial.
Mhm.
Those are probably the three things that get me through the day. And organization, right? Those are skills that you need. But from a commercial standpoint, I think something that you're going to need is patience because this is not something that happens overnight. These transactions are not 30-day closes, right? Unless it's, I guess vacant land and they don't want to do any due diligence and drillings or, phase ones or twos. But realistically speaking, these deals can take 6 months, 18 months, 2 years. I worked on a land assemblage for GetGo and put a massive gas station on the corner. It took like 2.5 years to get done. And it was some of them were houses, some of them were just land. But you're not only dealing with the brokers on one side, then you're also dealing with the landowners and the homeowners. And not to mention, there was eminent domain that was coming in because they were widening the road. So we were dealing with PennDOT. And then each one of those families had attorneys that were trying to get more from PennDOT for their land. So this is not something where it's like, okay, great, I'm going to set it, forget it. It's going to be, you are involved from day one. And it could take years to close a transaction. And keeping in mind, like, unless you are working for a brokerage who pays you, a salary, this is usually a commission only opportunity, right? So you're not getting paid unless you are closing a transaction. So keep that in mind. I
Mhm.
think that patience is a virtue. It sucks, but sometimes it takes it takes a while to get through it. But again, just like in residential, there's uncapped opportunity.
Right. Yeah, I
Um,
can definitely relate to that. I have a deal that I've been involved with it, just me. I came on the latter end for over a year. We wanted the contract the end of December. We were hoping to close by May, but we'll be lucky if we close by the end of this year. The rate, we had some issues with financing, and there was a damage to one of the units. So yeah, definitely can take longer. But one thing too, one class that we offer at CCIM is about how to build up your consulting business. So one thing I learned, is some of the things that even as a residential agent, you were doing and not charging, or providing a service. The instructor, Patricia Lynn, she breaks down how to every aspect. It was eye-opening, to say the least, the number of things and services that, we provide, and, can be a consulting, very, lucrative consulting business to help, bridge the gap in between transactions and things like that. I will also say too, of course, networking is all about relationships, right? So I know I get a lot of referrals from my residential agent friends. And so, networking, the same strategies that you were doing, you're going to do as a doing commercial. And then your marketing as well, right? You still have to have your social media and your CRM software, all those things working for you. So those are going to definitely, keep your branding, and, as you transition to do both residential and commercial as well. I will also say, again, Dominic, you mentioned knowing and getting the information. You can't put yourself out here as, an expert and you don't have the knowledge to back it up, so taking the classes, we're going to be doing some classes with GPAR, some of our core courses. So, definitely stay tuned. And we have one of our scholarship discount programs. It's called Rename Now. It's called Career Development Program. We're going to be relaunching from the National CCIM Institute. So there will be some discount opportunities there. So we'll be sure to share that with you as well. But definitely in the chat, I think you put in there how to get the designation, and there's a link in the chat on how to go about getting the designation for CCIM. And I can't say it enough, where it's like knowledge is power. Once you get that education, can't anybody take it from you. And I know I've done deals, or I've gotten deals where people saw in my email signature that I was a CCIM. And they were like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go with her because I know she knows what she's doing, in terms of, getting the deal closed, doing the analysis, making sure that, it was going to actually get done. So it's definitely set me apart. And again, I got mine in 2017, and I kind of stepped away a little and then came back. But definitely, since I've been involved nationally, I sit on several committees nationally, university outreach, membership, and marketing. And it's, networking with professionals. Like I had an issue here, and I called one of my CCIMs in South Carolina, and I said, have you ever dealt with, this company or knew anything? He said, oh, we're doing one now. Just, gave me the whole rundown, what happened, what were some of the pros and cons. It's just, even with development, I was at a conference and I was working on a, vacant land, a proposal, and this developer, he's had already done one. He said, oh, I did one. I said, you know what, do you mind looking at my performance? We sat down at the bar, had my laptop, and he went through everything, gave me all kind of pointers, gave me his info. I mean, who does that? It's just, being in a network and having your peers you can rely on is priceless.
It's so true. I think one of the biggest things that I have noticed with going through the program, getting pinned, and the networking opportunities, it is it's like a little family, right? And I know it sounds like cliche to say, but once you have those four little letters behind your name, it opens up a world of opportunity and possibility. Suddenly, you're getting calls back when you weren't before, you know. So I think that there's a lot of great that comes from this. I think one of the classes maybe two classes that I remember the chapter offering. One was, and Jennifer, I know we've done this before at Triple Play in Atlantic City. There was a financial analysis for residential real estate, something along those lines, that I thought was really, really helpful. It was a sold out class, I think, anytime we ever offered it, because it was a great transition course. And then there was another one that I think deals with, and I think Craig Fernsler might have taught it, maybe out of Delaware or something, where it was transitioning from residential into commercial. I can't remember if that was one of the names of the courses. So I think there are, you know, even if you're just, where do I start? You know, I think that's a couple of those classes would be great. Even the commercial intro class that CCIM offers too, just to kind of see where you want to go with it. But that's all.
Absolutely. So let's not all do the talking here. Who has questions for us? Who's doing some deals? Who's taking who's thought about taking? Who's gonna take? Let's hear from you guys. Come off mute, ask us some questions. No questions, y'all all got quiet on us,
That means they just want to hear me keep talking, right?
right? I want to share one slide. I have just a little overview of our courses and our certificate program. Let me see. Okay, I see a question there. Maybe Dom, you can talk through that while I try to get my screen together.
Tell us how to ask for commission. All right. So I will not be telling you how to ask for commission based off of the legal ramifications that could come from that. However, advocating for your value and your worth, I think, is extremely important. I mean, unfamiliar with, you know, whatever brokerage you work for, I think that obviously you start with your brokerage's policy, and whatever however they want you to go about asking for things like that. But I think the things that make buyers or sellers, tenants or landlords trust you is showing how much you can actually do, how much you can advocate for your value and worth. So for me, for example, things that I highlight: past transactions. You know, obviously, if you're involved in leadership, you know, I think there's a lot that I have built over years that I can then, you know, kind of go in and pitch it that way. For someone who maybe is starting out, who maybe doesn't have a huge portfolio of experience, you know, there's nothing wrong with going in and saying, "Hey, I'm learning this process. They might be your only client." And I have leaned into that whenever I had no I had no clients. Hey, look, here's the transparency, here's the honesty. I will work 110% for you because this is XYZ. You know, I don't things that I have said to people before is like, you won't be a number to me. You're the only number one, right? Or whatever the case may be. So I think that you finding your niche and finding your value and what you offer, if it's great communication skills or if it's diligence in paperwork or whatever the case is, if it's your connection within the community, you know, I think that is worth its weight in gold. So though I can't tell you how to specifically ask for whatever number you're looking for, you know, I think it's a great way to kind of look inward and say, okay, what am I actually offering someone? Why would they want to choose me? And when you start to kind of work backwards from that, you've created your value proposition. You know, so I think that's the best. I think that's probably the best and safest answer considering, you know.
That's good.
But yeah, I hope that helps, Toya. So.
And we had one question in the chat. Thanks, Heather. That was a good segue to my slide. The different courses that I would suggest for a residential agent looking to transition. We have what's called the Foundations for Success. That's a 2-day class. And it's actually part of our newest certificate program. And the foundations class, I always tell people it's like a good prerequisite if you're, to see, is this for me? Can I handle it? Because sometimes people go right to 101, which is our core course in our designation curriculum, and then they get overwhelmed. It is a lot of, it is finance driven. It is a lot of Excel, spreadsheets. So I tell people to take this course first to kind of get your feet wet and see if this is for you before you dive right into the deep end. So our foundations course, commercial real estate negotiations, ethics, these are all part of our newest certificate program. So if you take that, you would, obtain a certificate in commercial real estate. Now, if you decide that you want to go further, then our designation core courses are CI 101, financial analysis, market analysis, CI 102, CI 103, and CI 104. User decision analysis is one of is a really great one. I refer to that a lot in doing analysis for clients that are looking to buy versus rent. It gives you lots of spreadsheets to be able to use and do the analysis. You want to always be able to help your clients make informed decisions. That's what you're here for as the professional. So you will be given the tools to be able to do that with obtaining and going through our courses. And again, the ethics course is required in negotiation. So if you go through the certificate and then you go further, those ethics courses and negotiations will already be taken and are required for the curriculum.
Candace, I just want to
Go ahead.
add on to that. Having been involved from the CCIM, our Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware chapters, from being involved from the board and watching that chapter grow and being involved in the leadership side of it. I can attest to, I know Candace can, as she's line officer, SJ, who's the current president. Everybody who sits on that board cares immensely. These are volunteer positions. So these are people who will take your phone calls if you are not sure where to start. They will point you in the right direction. We have an amazing board and great staff leadership as well, who can point you in the right direction. So even if you're not getting, if you're not sure after this coffee talk, where to start, don't hesitate to reach out to anyone. This is a board and an organization that really cares, and they want to see you succeed, and they want to point you in the right direction. So don't feel like, oh, well, I haven't done really much or whatever, and I'm not sure if I should reach out. Call, email. Someone will get you pointed in the right direction, even if it's meeting up for an additional. I've done this with people locally in Pittsburgh. I've met up and had coffee with them, and sat for an hour and chatted, and that's how you start to create a network as well. So don't be afraid to reach out to our chapter. We certainly will point you in the right direction.
Absolutely. And I see another question. Can you explain the key differences between a business broker and a commercial real estate broker, and in what situations would someone need to work with both? That's a good question about a restaurant deal. So I can speak a little to that. So with a business broker, you're selling the business. So sometimes you'll have a situation where there's a business, like you mentioned, a restaurant, then there's the real estate. So those are kind of two different transactions, because you have the value of the business versus the value of the real estate. Like, for instance, I have a client that has a water ice business, right? And he was looking at locations, and there was a situation where he found we were looking for a place for him to lease. And it was actually, it ended up being like there was a Rita's there, and Rita's was leaving, and they were getting a different location, and he was going to actually take out the rest of his term, or kind of sublease the lease that was already in place. But in any case, with the business, there's a different value that comes from just the business itself. So that's where the business broker comes in, and we don't deal with that. I do have some business brokers that we deal with, but we deal with the real estate part of it. So that's what, the difference comes in. And I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the other thing when I deal a lot with bars and restaurants here, and the big thing to remember here too, you are not transacting for the business. You are not transacting for the liquor license either. We are handling only the real estate. So you want to make sure that the best thing that you can do for your client, whether it's you're on the sale side or the buy side or tenant or landlord, whatever, is make sure that they have proper representation. That is half the battle, right? They're coming to you for the real estate, and sometimes that means you have to guide them towards an attorney or a business broker or a business broker who handles food and beverage, F&B, an attorney that handles liquor license transactions. So that's you are a connector in a lot of ways, and under no circumstance, especially me now, like at 11 years in, I would never be like, let me value that business for you. It's not what we do. I'm not licensed to do that. I don't handle the liquor license transactions. I've seen those transactions go super south with other agents and brokers who say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna," I've said yes to many things in life, but that's not something that I've said yes to. And you want to make sure that a lot of this business, especially in commercial, is learning, and I hate to say it this way but it's like learning how to stay in your lane. And I think that you garner much more respect within the community if one, you're not micromanaging, and two, if you're staying in your lane, right? If you give them a contact to a liquor license attorney, they are handling that. You are in contact with the liquor license attorney. You're helping, right? Don't take that all on yourself, and you shouldn't. But yeah, it's the same thing. You're not valuing their business, and you're not valuing the liquor license. You are just handling the real property.
and I know it's 9:45. I just wanted to do one last question or a thought. I know for me, if you could do anything different, Dominic, or if you could have,
Oh boy.
if was there one thing you knew about commercial that you didn't know, or now, or that you could have done differently, you wanna share?
Oh God. That list is pretty long and usually embarrassing. I would say if I would have started sooner. I think I would have been, I think when we had first started, chatting, it was, I got my license at 19 and didn't really do much with it and tried to fight it tooth and nail. I just think about the time spent doing other things. I think I would have just started soon. Look, I have no regrets with regards to the other career that I held and all of that, but I think starting sooner, starting down the education path sooner, and starting down the local leadership path sooner, or just getting involved. Because I think if I had been involved even a year or two earlier, I just think, okay, I would be that much farther ahead. But look, everything happens for a reason, but I would say get involved as soon as you can. I know that sounds like a pitch for, our locals and all of that, and it absolutely is. We want dedicated servants. We want dedicated individuals who will help move our industry forward and be positive about the industry. Unfortunately, right now, in the last year or so, our industry has unfortunately gotten a bad rap. So, I think it's being part of a positive change and being part of the industry and not just being in the industry. So if I could do it all over again, I would have gotten involved way sooner.
Mm-hmm. Like, well, you took mine. I definitely agree. I would have started sooner with the commercial part. But again, it was just how, when I was in undergrad, I remember they were like, oh yeah, well, girls don't really do that. Like, commercial real estate, like period, point blank. And I just went, the direction that I did, but I do agree. I don't regret any of it, because I definitely learned and mastered, the residential part. And now, gaining more and gearing more towards development. But I'm thankful for the folks that I've, met along this journey. And I'm thankful to be here with you all today. So please put in the chat any key takeaways or anything else that we missed. And I want to tell you about our commercial happy hour next week.
Just a quick little note you had mentioned about, people saying that women don't do a lot of commercial real estate or not a lot of women do it. I will let you know, having worked at a few really good firms, the top producing commercial brokers in the Pittsburgh area are female. So they're kicking ass and taking names. So don't let anyone tell you that you can't, because they are dominating the industry out here for sure.
Definitely, definitely. And I want to let you guys know we're going to have a commercial happy hour next week on August the 12th, right, Jennifer? Right, August the 12th from 5 to 7 in Philly at 1501 North Broad. It's in Progress Plaza. There's commercial space in there available coming soon. And we're going to be in that space and network and talk more about commercial real estate. Anybody else have any questions? SJ, you want to say anything to the group, or you?
No, I think you guys really covered it all. I think that in this day and age that knowledge is key, and the Institute is the gold standard for teaching people how to analyze commercial deals. I can only second and triple, and the fact of the matter is that it is a family. I feel like twice a year we have a family reunion in the spring and in the fall, and next year the forum is going to be here in Philly. So if people are interested, just start getting involved now. And then if you have the opportunity, come to the spring forum and you'll see for yourself. It's kind of a rare instance where the forum will be in our hometown. So it's a big deal if you can come out and check it out. And then once you get a taste of it, I feel like you just can't turn away. Like it's so appealing. So that's kind of all I got to say. And reach out anytime. If anybody has any questions, reach out to anybody, including myself. I'm always available.
Absolutely. Please make sure you connect with us on LinkedIn. I'll put my email here in the chat. And thanks for that, Donna. Any other closing thoughts, Dominic?
No, thank you for the opportunity to chat with you guys this morning. This was great. If anyone needs anything out in the Pittsburgh market, feel free to pick up the phone, call, text, email. Happy to help however I can. If you have any questions about CCIM, I know you've got a lot of great resources, but if you ever have any other questions, I'm happy to help answer.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a great week.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.